Welcome back.
Okay.
You know, it's not true. All birds fly south for the winter. You see them and you tell your kids that, but it's not true. Residents of Western Michigan know they were fortunate to have lots of beautiful and important wildlife and natural resources all year long. And there is one species that makes Michigan its winter home because it's warm.
Aaron Rowan with the MI Birds program explains.
Michigan is a really special place for birds. We actually lie at the intersection of two migratory flyways or superhighways, which brings over 340 bird species through the state each year. We also are home to over 6 million acres of wetlands, which are important stopover sites for these migratory birds, as well as wintering waterfowl, like these ducks up here. So we have a lot of birds that stay in Michigan throughout the winter: waterfowl, ducks, buffleheads, hooded mergansers, as well as common goldeneyes. We also have golden eagles and rough-legged hawks that move through in November, some of which stay here throughout the winter. And then all of our winter sparrows are settling in nicely right now. The dark-eyed juncos, the harbingers of winter for us here in Michigan, white-throated sparrows, and snow buntings. Snowy owls do migrate into Michigan every winter, and we have different numbers show up here. So in eruption years, there are a lot of snowy owls. This happens after they have a very successful breeding season up in the Arctic, and then we'll see a higher density of them. So we'll see them farther south throughout the state, but also in higher numbers. But they do typically, on a normal year, will still be seen throughout the lower peninsula. They come from the Arctic, and they are really trying to avoid those freezing sub-zero temperatures. The polar vortex that we experienced every couple of winters, those are the kinds of temperatures they're leaving behind when they come to Michigan. So they think Michigan is warm and balmy and tropical. There are several upcoming winter bird counts, and all of these are community science volunteer-based. So it's really important for folks to participate. We have the Audubon Christmas bird count coming up December 14th to January 5th. Then we have the Cornell Feeder Watch program, which actually started in November but runs through April 3rd. We also have Climate Watch, January 15th to February 15th, and then the Great Backyard Bird Count, which is February 14th to 17th. So all of these data sets kind of combine, and researchers and managers can have access to them. We also encourage folks to use eBird if they're out and about, not on one of these special event days, and that's one of the largest, I think the largest actual community science database in the world. There are millions of observations that get submitted into that every day. And if you're not comfortable birding, come out and join me. I lead year-round guided bird tours, and all levels of experience and ages are welcome. Earlier this fall, that 3 Billion Birds Gone report was published, showing that we're seeing a great loss in breeding bird populations across the country. So here in Michigan, what we can do is try to help those birds that are more sensitive. It looks like some of our most common birds are actually in decline, so keeping those feeders up in the winter, making sure there's food during extreme cold temperatures, supporting conservation organizations that do land and water conservation as well as wildlife conservation in Michigan. Participating in those community science programs, that's really helpful. And then if you also can plant some native plants on your property for these birds, it allows them to have food year-round and some shelter. That's a really important program that Audubon has a great database for called Plants for Birds. You can enter your zip code, and they give you a great list of native plants in your area and the birds they attract. And then our partners, Pheasants Forever, also have native wildflower and grass seed blends that you can purchase too, which is great for Michigan. And then we also encourage folks to not use rodenticide, particularly when these lovely owls are visiting us for the winter, because if they happen to eat a poisoned rodent, it's usually fatal. So if you do see an owl or any bird that you think is in distress, it's a really great idea to call a licensed wildlife rehabber, and DNR has a list on their website. MNFI, Michigan Natural Features Inventory, has a list of all of Michigan's sensitive species on their website, and you can go and take a look at that. If you happen to see snowy owls or other birds, we do encourage the use of that eBird app. They've got an app on your smartphone, so while you're out in the field, you can submit your observations wherever you are. It's super handy, and it is really valuable. They do keep secret the exact location of a rare bird or endangered bird, just because they don't want people to flock to it, because a lot of birders, including myself for my programs, will go to eBird and look at what was recently seen in the area.
If you want to learn more about Michigan's birds, please visit gl.audubon.org. And if you want to hear more stories about Michigan's successful wildlife conservation work, go to the Michigan Wildlife Council's website at hereformioutdoors.org.